Today, I'd like to speak to you all about my all-time favorite film that I have ever seen, ever. And if you have not seen this film, then you have not lived a complete life. Are you ready for my favorite film that I've ever seen? It's none other than Threat Level Midnight. Hey everyone, I'm Carson Hadlock and welcome to Carson Studios. In today's video, I want to talk about creating simple stories. And I did do a Tuesday tip on this, but I wanted to expand on it. Okay, so before we actually get into the story part, I want to talk about why I love Threat Level Midnight so much. Okay, well, my all-time ultimate reason is because it is Michael in a nutshell, okay? Can we just throw that out there? It is Michael in a nutshell. And I've shown it to people who have seen The Office and they love it. They think it's amazing because it displays Michael. Then I've shown it to people that haven't seen The Office and they don't know the character of Michael and they just think that it is the dumbest thing that you have ever seen. But I love it for that reason. But I also love it because it's an example of a terrible story. Now I know you may be like, how in the world is that your favorite film? Blah, 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 blah. It's just hilarious. I could sit down and watch that film 5 times in a row and still want to watch it again. I love Threat Level Midnight so much. It's wonderful. See, but it's a terrible example of a good story. It's not a good storyline, not good plot. It's not a good plot. Blah, 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 blah. Words are hard. I think if you are going to get anything out of this episode, remember, words are hard. But Threat Level Midnight has a terrible plot. Got it. You see, Michael threw so many different genres into this film, and there's so much going on in this film. It's just super fast. It doesn't really develop any of the stories. There's so many different stories and they just happen, and it's just because, like, that's Michael. He just sees a movie and that's gonna be in here. It's amazing and I love it so much. I can't tell you how much I love Threat Level Midnight. Favorite film of all time. But one thing about Threat Level Midnight is that it got too complicated because there's all these genres and all these different small little plots that didn't develop and stuff. It just got so complicated. So on the story wise, for our example, it was too complicated of a plot. And that is what leads us into simple stories. Guys, you don't need a huge, complicated plot to make your film be successful. See, the most successful films, and this is just in general, like big Hollywood movies and stuff, but also the films that win at film festivals and stuff, they have a simple plot. It's not some crazy big extravagant Marvel timeline here, right? And even when you break down the Marvel movies themselves are not that complicated. It's the entire timeline itself that gets a lot more complicated. So I want to give you guys another example of a really, really successful film, and this is like a Hollywood movie, that it has a super simple story, but it was so successful. It won 10 Oscars. 10! And this is my all-time favorite movie series. These movies, specifically the first one, is the reason why I make films. Let me just point that out to you. This is the reason why I make films. And I want to I'll probably break that down more in a later episode, just for those people who's like, how did you get started? And why do you want to do blah, blah, blah? And how are you blah, blah, blah? Okay, so this series is the Rocky series. But today I want to break down the first Rocky and that story, that plot. And I can read the entire plot to you. I can summarize the entire movie in one sentence. Rocky is a poor guy, and he lives a life to show it. And one day he gets a chance to fight the heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed. This is an overly successful film. That film that was like almost, for Hollywood, it was a no-budget film. It is a way higher budget than an indie filmmaker, but it's a lot, but it was a small budget for a Hollywood film, and they even had the film illegally in Philadelphia, and the story wasn't overly complicated. It was a 2-hour movie, and it had all of this different stuff in it, but it wasn't a complicated story. It was just, poor guy gets a chance, the underdog gets a chance to rise up to the top, and that's the whole story to that. See, you guys, with your films, you don't have to stress to get a super complicated, insanely in-depth, crazy plot. You don't need that. Guys, I'll give you another example. I know I'm just throwing out examples, but another example for a simple story is my film, Woodwork. Basically, a guy makes something out of wood, and then it gets stolen. That's the entire plot to that. So you guys, what to take out of today's episode is that words are hard, and remember to keep your story simple. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Rocky is a poor guy, and he lives a life to show it, and he gets a chance to fight the world heavyweight champion, the heavyweight champion of the world. Okay, let's redo that. Rocky is a poor guy, and he lives a life to show it. But one day he gets a chance. Rocky is a poor guy. Rocky is a poor guy, and he lives a life to show it. Rocky